Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, sponsor. This was brought before the subcommittee, and actually, Representative Glenn mentioned a couple of things that I just want to parse out here just a little bit. One is, as it relates to the authorization that they're given federally to be able to come and to work in this state, were you able to see or find out either through the Department of Homeland Security or others if it was possible for the state to receive notification of individuals who had overstayed sort of their visa if you keep the process in place?
You're recognized.
So there is a report that Department of Homeland Security puts out every year. Unfortunately, the last one that they produced was from fiscal year 20. And so that report tells us every year how many immigrants that are coming in through the process, either through a port of entry or through land. Mm-hmm. And the documentation that's being passed out is multiple. There's many different ways. It can be a student visa, a work visa. They could be here for vacation, but then there's also other statuses that are given to folks that are coming in even not through the proper channels. So all of that goes together into that report each year. And what I've seen or what I've been able to find out is we're looking at roughly between $650,000 and $750,000 or 750,000 overstays per year.
Mm-hmm. In Tennessee?
In the U.S.
U.S. Okay. The other thing that I think was raised that cautions me to this is there are some folks who are coming here. They have gotten the appropriate documentation. They are working in our state legally. They have been given identification for 8 years, and we are now inconveniencing them every 2 years or every other year just about. They're having to come back to a DMV or something like that, despite the fact that they went through all the appropriate and the correct channels to be able to be in our state, to be able to work in our state, to be able to contribute to it. And so how are you weighing the inconvenience that we're causing to people who have done everything, as you would argue, legally, with the time that they're having to take away to then go and get recertified as though they are a criminal or something like that? How are you considering that?
You're recognized.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So there aren't any visas that are being issued for 8 years. So as I mentioned, the different types of visas that you can get issued authorization from the federal government, a vacation visa or somebody here on a temporary holiday is only for up to 90 days. Mm-hmm. Student visas typically are for the length of time that they're in school. That can be either 2 to 4 years for most cases. And the vast majority of business-related visas are only good for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So again, this is going to line up with the majority of the folks that we have here coming anyway that are here legally. Every 2 years, they're going to have to renew their visa, and that this will require them to come back to the state and also update us with the information that they have.
Mm-hmm. And my last question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Is it possible that this legislation could be adapted to the point where you would have, based on the visa that a person gets, that would dictate their time for having to come back? So if the visa is only for, say, 4 years or 7 years, then that's the length of time that the license would be able to be extended, so that it wouldn't be just 2 years for everybody, but it would be more aligned to sort of their requirements. Thank you. The requirements for the time that they be here.
Go ahead.
So currently under the law, the law states that temporary licenses are only as good as the authorization that they have. Mm-hmm. But the problem that we have is that some of these authorizations get revoked or they overstay past that time period. And when they still have a license, they can move freely throughout the U.S. with that license. It doesn't state on its face that it's invalid at that point. Mm-hmm. So they'd have to be pulled over or somehow investigated in order to find out that that license was no longer valid. So what we're trying to do here is limit that period of time between an overstay when the visa is revoked or they've overstayed and when that license expires, so that they're coming back in to check up, they're updating their information, their address, their photograph, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. I appreciate you answering the questions, and we talked a little bit about this in subcommittee. I still got a couple of reservations. I really think, something that might pair more to them having it associated with the time that they're here with their visa would be something that I could understand. My challenge also is look, it's almost you're pre-penalizing people. They haven't done anything wrong, and we're adding sort of burdens to them, people who are here legally, people who have went through the visa process. And so adding sort of a new requirement for them to have to do this is something that I don't think that I'll be able to support at this point. But I appreciate you've been willing to answer questions.
Representative, I would just say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.